Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. I host a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. And I'm making this video today because I started to see a pattern, and not at all because I'm an autist and RFK Jr.'s recent comments kind of fly in the face of my entire existence. But when you have children, whether or not you like it, you're their parent their whole lives. And I noticed a disturbing pattern as I pluck a hair that I can clearly see right there. When something horrible happens to your child and they're an adult, that's not the time to teach them a lesson. That's shitty parenting. Anyway, I wanted you to know that it's like a lot of things came together. This is going to be long-winded and dumb, and I'm never going to get where I want to go with words. But I was having a conversation with my wife, and she was just like, oh, you're going to get yelled at because you're not a parent. Understood. I'm saying capitalism wins when you can't interact with your family and everybody has to live in a different house. When everybody has to have their own vehicles and their own stuff, and you don't talk, capitalism wins, right? Instead of just taking someone in when they need shelter, right? And I'm not talking about myself. I have been largely self-sufficient my entire adult life, with some exception, and my mother was always there for me. Not talking about me. But what I have noticed in others is that, for example, I'm talking to a man and his wife, after she gave birth, in that sort of postpartum mess, not only was depressed and not want to be here, but she was unfaithful, and he chose to leave, and is in an uphill battle for custody. There are other things that would just be more detailed that are unnecessary, really. Right? There's no whose fault is this. What? They didn't make enough money for her to get the proper postpartum treatment. I just want to point that out. Capitalism. Also, they didn't have the money for her postpartum treatment. And when he moved out and gave up custody, his parents decided that was the time to teach him a lesson. And he was homeless for 6 months and slept in the parking lot of his job. Big old company, big old job. Too humiliated to tell anyone. Showered in the facility's gym. And I imagine he's not the fucking only one. And I just want you to know that that is a lack of education. And that is exactly, again, what this regime wants. They want to destroy education. An education that would have you taking, potentially, dear God, take classes in parenting. Okay? Read more books about parenting, right? And I was having this conversation with my wife, and she's like, you're not a parent. You don't understand that, you spent your whole life conditioning them to be able to assess risk. And there are certain things that you've got to let them go through. And I told them, like, being homeless, sleeping in a parking lot of work is not one of them. And the other situation, the woman They were both veterans. She said the only reason she stayed with them is because they quit drinking together. Before they even started dating, they were coworkers, and they kind of, as a duo, hey, let's stop drinking together. They weaned themselves off booze, right? Replaced their addiction to alcohol with each other, right? How predictable. There's no fairy tale with that in it. And ultimately, he picked the drinking hobby back up, and she wasn't about that life after they got out. And he whipped a fucking beer bottle at her, and it split her fucking head open. And she left his ass. And the fucked up part is her car broke down, right? Sucks. And her family was like, we got you. We'll get you to work and shit. But they wouldn't let her stay with them. They said that, you need to learn a lesson. So she had to stay with her abuser. She's gonna divorce and leave this person. He is fucking abusive. What are we talking about? Again, if you back up, you give context to the situation. They were both on active duty together in leadership positions, and as colleagues, quit drinking alcohol together on active duty. How fucking strong do you got to be? Honestly, I was on active duty, and it was really hard not to drink every day of the week. So yeah, they quit drinking together, replaced that addiction with each other, got married, they've been together forever, they get out, he picks up drinking. She does not. Now, do I think that's a completely natural situation? I do. I do think it's a completely natural situation where people are habitual. And there are some people that are addicts for life and alcoholics for life. There are just people like me that have quit smoking cigarettes cold turkey, quit drinking cold turkey, and never had an issue. Good to go. It's a mental thing. But I'm making this video giving you some context of a couple situations where if you're the parent and you say in those moments, I can't be your safety net here, you need to learn a lesson, you failed as a parent. You failed right there. And it's not your fault, it's a lack of education. Because if you took any parenting classes or read any parenting books right before they touch fire is not the time for you to be like, I don't know, see if you're flammable. That would be the part where you grab them by the collar, pull them back, and say, remember, I've told you your whole life that don't touch fire, it's hot. And we've never done that, right? You have no burns on your whole body, right? Okay, well, let's not start now, right? And instead, there's far too many parents out there that are not educated. And it's capitalism is fucking killing us. And it's a lack of education, which has led to a lack of parenting for eons. We've been fucking this up forever. And I'm not a parent, so I have no credibility. And I'm not talking about myself, so this isn't like some crazy shit. But this is me saying, like, think about what I'm saying. Capitalism wants us at each other's throats to the point where family can't be under the same roof. That's what the right wants. They want houses divided. Right? Like, I'm from Indiana. The only house division I'll accept is IU versus Purdue, fuck Notre Dame. Right? That's the only... And again, that's friendly. I'm a college football, basketball, sports fan. I'll literally watch it all. Know that it's a friendly rivalry thing and an NCAA football thing. Not, and I actually hate people. Like, I was talking to my wife. We were just having this conversation. If I find out someone and I are diametrically opposed, that's not the death of our relationship. But there are things that you find out about people that you're like, oh, I'd never fuck with you ever again. But again, when it's your family and these are your children, they're your children for life. And again, it's a failure of parenting to let your kids burn. They're flammable. Have a good rest of your day.